and control the populace, so the populace will actually believe that all of this is needed to maintain the public safety. You've already seen the facts, my friends, all of the problems in Seattle, and yes, even in Washington, D.C. in 2000, could have been prevented. It's a handful of violent offenders offering the crisis so they can offer their solution. I would ask the police, why are you engaging in this? You know it's all stirred up and stage managed, as well as the military. Why be parties to this? Why be parties to destroying the country that your children are going to grow up in? Why? You can stand up, you can stop it, you can educate your friends and neighbors. That's the solution to this out-of-control government engaging in mass mind control and manipulation of the police, the military, as well as the general population. Break your conditioning.
At least 250, perhaps more, and those that have been taken into custody from the streets of downtown Seattle protesting for a variety of reasons. The World Trade Ministers here on their visit. You see them here with their hands pretty much cuffed behind their backs with those plastic sort of strap handcuffed apparatus. They are being led into the Sandpoint Brig. Remember, we told you about this story, dancing all the way in some cases. We told you about this story a couple of weeks ago. A number of the neighbors in that area of Sandpoint Naval Air Station were shocked to hear that the old brig was being reopened just in case it was needed, and it has been. As we said, at least 250 arrests now, maybe more.
And we've seen 400 people arrested. The facility at Sandpoint, we're told, is full. We're told they did not create another one at Boeing Field. But they continue to arrest people, and they continue to crack down hard on the protesters this afternoon.
That no protest zone, as we call it, is bordered between Lenore and Seneca and Bourne and 4th Avenue. We call it a no protest zone.
Some people were taken in forcibly into the building to be booked, and those people, I'm told, have been refusing to give their names or their hometowns or any information to authorities. They are being fingerprinted, and some of those people have already been taken down to the King County Jail for additional processing. So it is a very, very slow process out here, and right now, as I said, it is basically a stalemate between the protesters that are here on the Metro buses. There's 2 Metro buses, basically half full, and the police who have been processing some, but now at this point it's a waiting game.
Emily,
Dan,
I would
Kathy,
have to say that police, while we all want to see people get their legal rights, I would think police are looking at this as kind of a win-win situation. Those people are on the buses, they're not on the streets.
Some of the protesters that are here now were earlier at the corner of 8th and Lenora, where about 40 people were arrested. They are pledging to make this a non-violent protest. They want to be able to make their point about the WTO. And now it seems, Brad, that really has shifted more from the anti-WTO stance to an or pro, I should say, constitutional rights. And we're seeing chants now instead of down with the WTO, it's like freedom of assembly, freedom of free rights. These people are angry about the fact that they're not allowed to protest peacefully today.
That certainly does seem to be the case. Let's go to Nicole Rodriguez, who's down there in the action, to get her perspective. Nicole?
Hi, I'm standing here right in the middle of the crowd that's protesting, and I want to ask this person in front of me, sir, can you tell me what this is about when the police came and...
Police never left. They've been here all day. From the moment there was any more than 3 or 4 people on the street together, they've suspended our right to gather together on the street. The Constitution's been suspended in Seattle today. These people were doing absolutely nothing.
Nobody was directly confronting the police. No one laid hands on anybody. Nobody touched property. And they were arrested anyway solely because the WTO comes to town. China and other foreign governments wander in here, and they've suspended our Constitution, supposedly the greatest democracy in the country. And now they're gassing everybody. What did you see here? Did you see any violence?
In downtown Seattle today, the First Amendment ended at 4th and Spring.
Are you part of an organized protest today?
Not only could you not say what's on your mind, you couldn't wear it.
Give me that. Yeah. Sir, let's not get into a big scuffle over it. Okay?
This man had an anti-WTO sticker on his backpack.
He took it off my... Right. There are no protests down here. You saw what happened yesterday to your city. We're not going to let it happen again, okay?
Not allowed to have a sticker?
Not here.
These officers stand guard at just one corner of a 50-block no-protest zone in downtown Seattle. since a civil emergency was declared. Talk of free speech, at least past this point,
It's a no protest zone, sir.
became moot.
You just took his gun, am I right? He did.
He reached onto his body and pulled it right
I
off.
asked if I could go through. He said I couldn't if I had a button, and I wasn't going through the line, and then he ripped it off my jacket.
Now, if I say I'm protesting WTO, I can't go in. If my T-shirt said I supported the WTO, could I go in? That's not a protest.
It's a no protest zone, hence no protest.
Backpacks and bags were also searched for banners or gas masks.
Gas masks are illegal to possess today in the city of Seattle.
How can you guys mandate something like that?
What's that?
Just curious, how can you mandate something
Because
like
they
that?
declared the city a state of emergency.
But you don't know what thoughts are in my head, right?
I have no idea.
But
Are
I
you
can walk
protesting? Are you protesting? It's a no protest zone down there. Go down there and protest, you risk arrest. Okay? I'm just telling you that. You understand that?
Understood.
Okay.
What country is this?
It's a situation that is clearly uncomfortable for those who want to get through to protest and those who block their way.
What we're trying to do is keep protesters out and the business people and citizens go in, okay?
City leaders believe the free speech of yesterday came at too high a cost. That's why, at least for today, the First Amendment ended.
Yes, the First Amendment ended, and the police got a chance to, well, confiscate political banners and train the public how to proceed in an orderly fashion to the camps. Internment camps or concentration camps are nothing new in the history of the world. As early as the 1940s, hundreds of thousands of Japanese Americans, many who were fourth generation, were forced into these centers. One area for the children, another area for the women, and of course the men. The men made good workers. Federal documents show that these programs were not scrapped. They were simply put into mothballs for later use. Recently, camp construction has drastically expanded here in the good old US of A. And it has nothing to do with political parties. They're all two sides of the same coin. In the 1980s, the concentration camp program got a big boost. And a little bit later, we'll get into the big push, the 1990s, right into 2000.
Colonel North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster?
Mr. Chairman. I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir.
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I believe that it was, but I wanted to get his
May I most
confirmation.
respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, I'm certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
And tragically, the only member who got close was Jack Brooks, and he was stopped by the chairman. But the truth of the matter is that, yes, you do have those standby provisions, and the plans are there, and the statutory emergency plans are there, whereby you could, in the name of stopping terrorism, apprehend, invoke the military, and arrest Americans and hold them in detention camps. In times of passion and in times of great fear, what to the eyes of the person and the mind of a person in time of relative peace and stability seem impossible become very real, very logical, very possible.
Across the nation, at airports and old military bases, they're installing hangars and structures to intern the American people under military control. They're also integrating local police. You've already seen some of the evidence. But even the town where I live, Austin, Texas, is not immune from these activities. The Robert Mueller Municipal Airport in Austin, Texas. Just one more town where the military and the police are moving in and forming bonds. Folks, we've been denied access to the old Robert Mueller Municipal Airport that they just shut down about 2 months ago. All we've seen is a Fox News piece where they showed the detainment center they've put in one of the old 747 hangars with bolts and chains in the floor and cots. And now the military's taking it over. So they shut down Bergstrom Air Force, and they've moved all sorts of weird Army activity here to the front parking lot of the old airport. And in the back, they've got APCs and barbed wire and everything else you can imagine. It's 700 plus acres out here at the airport, and we just got word of this. It just never ends. It just never ends.
Let me do a sweep of the...
They're looking at us.
Who's looking at you at this point? Here comes one of the trucks. Let me get you interviewed. Hurry, he's coming. He's coming. I want to get you interviewed. You stop him.
Hey, how you doing? What's going on, bud? We're just curious what the military's doing out on the old airport.
They're having maneuvers.
They're having a what?
Maneuvers.
We're told that there is a holding facility here on the old Robert Mueller Municipal Airport, a hangar to hold people. Have you been inside there?
No, not since they fixed it up. I haven't. I was there before they fixed it up.
How did they fix it up?
Travis County came out here and with some inmates, and they cleaned it all up, swept it, pulled weeds, and then they got inside and reinforced the doors and stuff with bars and stuff.
So they put bars on the that's one of the big hangars, right?
That's what I was told, yes. I haven't been in there.
Did you hear about the chains in the floor with the bolts?
No, I sure haven't.
Yeah. We saw it on Fox News. We had known of the facility for months before the mainstream media reported on it. But we were barred access despite the fact that we contacted the city of Austin dozens of times. We also contacted Travis County, attempting to gain access to the facility. But again, we were barred. But the mainstream media, they can be trusted. It's so much fun. It's no big deal. It's nothing to worry about. We're about to air a couple of newscasts here. Now, I was saying from day one that Y2K, the rollover, wasn't going to be a big problem, that it was really an opportunity for the establishment to have an excuse to take over local police departments and to put in more and more federal control, and this has been borne out to be absolutely true. Because after Y2K, the new center is still lying in wait, manned by troops. Again, right here in America, as you have this merger of the police and the military. For your security, they claim. The locals, they just buy the fraud.
Then Diane, where exactly are you? Well, you probably don't recognize it, but it's an abandoned hangar at the old airport just off 51st Street. Today and tomorrow, sheriff's employees are turning this place into a booking center and even a holding cell. Now, it really doesn't look like much, and okay, it's really not, but it is a perfect place to set up shop. Anyone arrested in the Travis County area during the New Year's Eve party for a Class C misdemeanor will be brought out here. Sheriff's officials tell me it's pretty primitive. Inmates will be fingerprinted and allowed 2 free phone calls. Then they'll be held here for about 4 hours, just enough time to sober up. Then they'll be released and expected to appear in court in the future. Only people who have ID on them will be brought out here since they won't have the capability to run fingerprint checks, and they're mostly expecting people arrested for public intoxication down in the A2K and 6th Street areas. This temporary booking facility opens up for business tomorrow night. That's Thursday at 8 o'clock.
We're hoping to get staff acclimated to working in this environment starting tomorrow with hopefully a low volume of arrests. So hopefully by come Friday night, everyone will know how the flow is going to work in here and be used to it.
The holding cell is surrounded by this chain link fence, and the fire marshal has told the sheriff's department that they can hold about 380 people in here, and the sheriff's deputies are ready for a busy night, Friday night.
Diane, lots of space out there to sober up.
Now watch, two separate newscasts, and they both say the same thing. Oh, it's no big deal. Oh, it's a small little thing. No problem. It's really no big deal. Just get used to it. Boy, their newscasts are really close together. Yeah, just don't worry about it. It's just a thing out there with the military. Well, I really should be fair. There was one difference in the newscast. One newscast did show the bolts in the floor and the fence inside and the chains running through the galley-like setup, but the other one didn't.
What's going on at the old airport?
This is where the party could end up, Walt, if A2K and Y2K partiers do get out of hand. The sheriff's office has taken an old hangar out here at Miller Airport and turned it into a makeshift jail, a holding cell. You can see where they even had to hand make a sign. This is where they'll bring the minor offenders, mostly the drunks. They expect more than 100 people. It's quiet right now, but they expect once the parties pick up, so will this little mini jail that they've created out here at the airport. But before we arrived here, we wanted to also drive around town and see what else is going on in Austin tonight.
I'm going to do stuffed sole.
Well, I'm going to do you a favor. We're going to skip the cooking recipes. See how they equate cooking with, camps out at the airport. And then they cut back to the camps. More psychology. I don't even know if these reporters know what they're doing, or is it just the training? Ah, yes, fireworks and pizza and a video with the family and the strange facility out at the airport.
And he says one of his biggest clients was the city of Austin. He says he sold more than 40 cases of ready-to-make meals to the city. So it seems like everyone is ready for just about anything, from home to here at this makeshift jail. Walt?
Okay, at least there's plenty of parking at the airport there.
And there's plenty of parking for anybody who wants to come down here and grab a cot.
All right, thank you, Ann.
Well, I guess you're starting to pinch yourself right about now. You think you're in Invasion of the Body Snatchers or John Carpenter's They Live, or perhaps John Carpenter's The Thing. Look at them smiling. You can come down, have a cot. I've lived in Austin for many years, and I've talked to many people. No one in any memory can remember any problems in Central Texas, riots, you name it. Why then have they refurbished this hangar and turned it into a detention center? And again, why is this trend growing across the country? They may use a lot of different excuses, but we all know what's behind it: control. Long before Columbine, we were out on the scene in Austin, Texas, exposing what was happening to the middle schools. They're being turned into mini prisons. Oh, and guess who's behind it? Keeping our children safe again. The Federal Emergency Management Agency. Our children being brought up in a police state mentality. Thumbs scanning to get driver's license, cameras on the street corners, cameras inside the schools, and fences around the schools. All part of federal schooling. And again, Clinton wants to expand this even further. What type of society are our children growing up in? Big Brother. They're going to take good care of them. Well, here we have it, keeping the youth safe. Locked from the outside, locked from the inside. Again, this is the village, Hillary Clinton's village. This is reminiscent of the Soviet Union. Well, here we have some more of the security precautions to keep the children safe. We have the steel grating on the windows. Again, all part of keeping the children safe for all time to come. No way in and no way out. Again, these children are not yours anymore. They belong to the state. We see the loss of parental rights accelerating. And of course, the test scores drop. We see President Clinton vetoing vouchers, people taking their own tax money and sending their children where they wish. Where is choice with big government? It's non-existent. We're not attacking teachers here. We're attacking the central government. We're attacking what they're doing to our youth, the pattern of history being replayed time and time again. Again, one of many such doors. Again, Porter Middle School. The principal is out and can't talk to us about the barbed wire fencing. Hey, how you doing? Are you a teacher? Doing? My name's Alex Jones. I have a FM radio show and also have an Access TV show. How you doing?
Good.
What's your name?
Dina Will.
Dina Will. We've noticed that they're putting in 2 levels of fencing now around the school. Is that to keep out crime?
This fence has been like this for a long time.
Well, I know, but we talked to the workers. They're actually putting in another level of fence up front.
I did not know that. I think the fence up there is up front because of the construction, and it's to keep the kids from getting around the construction and getting hurt.
Yeah. How long has there been the cyclone barbed wire fencing here?
I don't know. As long as I've been here.
Is this a high crime area? I live in South Austin.
So do I, and it's South Austin.
So it's... is there federal funding for these fences?
I would imagine that the same funding that comes to the school is how the fences got here.
Are most of the, have you taught in other schools? Are there a lot of fences in other areas?
I've only taught in other schools in Houston. And yeah, there are.
When they have floods, do they use the junior high and high schools as relief areas?
Yeah.
So they do use the high schools and junior highs and elementaries as relief areas during times of disaster?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Are you familiar that with the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency?
No.
Are you familiar that only 7% of their funding is for floods and the other funding is military operations?
No.
And that it's FEMA regulations that are trying to push the fences around the schools?
No, I did not know that.
But you are aware that during disasters, even during the last flooding, they used high schools and such as areas for relief?
Yes, I did know that.
Are you aware of the master arrest warrant, the master search warrant that can just suspend the Constitution and imprison people for having a copying machine or what the government calls propaganda materials?
No.
Does that sound like a representative republic to you?
No.
Doesn't? It's kind of a rainy day, isn't it?
Sure is.
How are the kids doing?
They're doing great.
Well, I do appreciate you talking to us today.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Come on, Mike. The most important thing that can be said about what's happening to most our middle schools and high schools is the fact that during disasters, they use high schools, gymnasiums, and junior highs for Red Cross relief centers and for FEMA centers. When you add this with FEMA, with the master arrest warrant, the master search warrant, and the military activities that they're openly engaging in across the country of locales want their funding, you have a recipe for disaster. They've used them for emergencies. They could use them for a national emergency to hold people in detention centers. These are detention centers set up as staging grounds to ship people out. That's not me. That's the Senate hearings. That's the documentation. Baker Elementary, the site of police training for terrorist attacks or hostage rescue of our children. I tell you, the government training centers are really delivering great education for our kids. How to grow up and live in a modern police state. Mike, let's just get the footage up close. Come on. Pardon me, sir? I'm Alex Jones. How you doing, bud?
How you doing?
So this is HIPS training, huh?
Yes, sir, it is.
Government training centers. So what's HIPS training stand for? Homicide, in progress.
If you turn that off, I'll discuss it with you.
Oh, you can't talk on camera?
I'm not going to talk on camera.
But I mean, it's for the children. It must be all right.
I'm not going to talk on camera.
Okay. Mike, give a shot of those people as they walk by. Are there role players that are playing the part of a terrorist or anything?
I'm not going to discuss it. We're on camera right now.
Okay. Get ready for part 2 of Police State 2, the takeover. as we delve into America's growing secret police and their infiltration of American society at every level, and the federal government's big push to merge the military and the police with the general population, mirroring the East German Stasi. Despite the fact that I have the #1 radio program in Austin, winning the Best of Austin award, I was not considered mainstream media by the Austin Police Department. We called, again, dozens of times to Chief Nee's office, and we were always denied access to these different militarized police training exercises at high schools, elementaries, and yes, middle schools. The big question is, why all the secrecy? And I'll tell you why, and we'll document it. The FBI, under the control of the Justice Department, are running these operations. Again, most of the general population is completely ignorant of this fact. So what's HIPS training stand for? Homicide, in progress.
Turn that off, I'll discuss it with you.
Oh, you can't talk on camera?
I'm not going to talk on camera.
But I mean, it's for the children. It must be all right.
I'm not going to talk on camera.
Okay. Mike, give a shout out to people as they walk by. Are there role players that are playing the part of a terrorist or anything?
I'm not going to discuss it. We're on camera right now.
Okay. My whole problem is this: actual shootings in schools have gone down. Now you've got these MK Ultra events that have been going on, but other than those, you don't have any real shootings that are happening. And I think it just helps add to the whole sensationalism of it that the media is driving.
Makes it trendy.
Okay. Well, I see your point.
Huh. Yeah. Did you hear about Theodore Kaczynski? LA Times, Harvard admits it?
No.
Well, they borrowed the Nazi scientists after World War II, and at Harvard, the Unabomber was the MK Ultra mind control subject. Alexander Cockburn wrote an article on that in the LA Times. It was about last month. Really, really nice people they're making for us. Of course, I'm sure you heard about, it was in Texas Monthly last year. The FBI created that Klan group, tried to get them to blow up that gas plant up in that chemical plant up in Tarrant County.
I didn't read that article.
Yeah, they won a bum steer award. Well, you remember Sheikh Abdel Rahman from the World Trade Center bombing? FBI helped them cook the bomb and had to train their driver how to drive it in there. Yeah, that's real nice folks. I mean, and they give you all this crap to clean up. It's real nice what they do for us. I'm sure you're familiar with Hitler burning the Reichstag in 1933 right after he got into office, blaming on his political enemies. It's a nice thing we're getting from Clinton. Well, they just funded martial law 2 weeks ago in the House, and it looks like it's going to pass the Senate, Section 1067 of the current defense appropriations package, to put the military on the streets with police for the mere threat of terrorism. And no longer will y'all just be getting surplus equipment. You'll be getting new equipment from the military, kind of like Mexico, I guess, where the police and your military just merge together. I guess we'll be a better country when we're like Mexico or Russia. Kind of the whole deal. Kind of the death of a nation. Yeah.
Well, she told me it was open to the public, that some other media's been out here and stuff like that. She said that
other media.
She said she would. I said that she would send a senior officer out here to make a statement. That's why we came out.
Other media stations have been out here, and it's even been in the American Statesman.
Okay. You're just out here because we heard we were coming.
He got a phone call at the station that y'all were going to show up.
Oh, really?
And so
we're evil.
Since I know.
Can we get that on film?
Anyway.
So you got to call at the station.
If y'all make that phone call, then maybe we'll discuss the.
All right, Mike, go. Let's go call.
So we're the terrorists now.
According to FBI and BATF programs in the high schools, junior highs, and elementary schools, the American people across the board are at least potential terrorists in the schools. And the children are being trained with toll-free hotlines how to tattle on their parents, their neighbors, or their classmates. There are literally hundreds of such federal front organizations administered by private organizations in a public-private partnership. One such program is the Wave America system, where children are literally trained to become members of the secret police. Only one more telltale sign of a nation entering authoritarian control. William Campbell, a concerned parent and a listener of my radio program, started mailing me these news articles over a year ago, before the Wave America program was announced. Wave America is truly a documented front of the BATF. The sheriff of his county received $112,000 to allow the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms to actually deploy 5 to 6 agents as full-time teachers in the schools. Despite the fact that the school board rejected the grant twice, the program has still been administered over the objections of many parents, like William Campbell. Mr. Campbell brought up the fact that in the Columbine situation, the federal government had given hundreds of thousands of dollars to that school district, and that school in particular in Colorado, with death education. 2020 reported on it back in '91, laying in coffins, writing their obituaries. This is not the type of free federal programs that he would like to see for his children. But let's delve into this free federal program, and let's find out what the BATF has planned for North Carolina, as well as the rest of the country. You see, programs like WAVE and SAVE across the nation are just flashy fronts for the BATF and the FBI and their indoctrination of the youth. The BATF encourages children to turn in their classmates for, quote, discriminatory behavior, or if they're depressed, does mommy and daddy have a gun? Parents have shown the greatest concern, though, over the BATF's access to students' files, their school records, and juvenile crime reports. Literally building huge databases, federal databases, on your children in the government training centers. The government also claims official ownership of all official work product. And the school has to sign a non-disclosure act, meaning that all of the information, all of the press releases must go through the BATF, federalizing your schools. But it's no wonder that they want to keep all this secret, permitting the officers access to the playground and cafeterias to allow for informal interaction, allow weekend homework assignments. The list goes on and on. They'll literally be teachers in your schools training and indoctrinating children. They'll have them writing reports on their home life. They're already doing that in San Antonio, Texas. And the sheriff has signed on and agreed to play ball with these so-called free federal programs. We've already seen what they've done in Columbine. And don't forget, never forget, school boards across North Carolina have rejected these programs, but still they're being instituted to report on dangerous activity. Hooked in with Pinkerton's security. It goes on and on, my friends. There's no end to it. You've definitely got to step up to the plate and get these programs out of your schools. They're being pushed by governors, presidents, and yes, even attorney generals. Learn to look for the buzzwords in your community. It'll sound good on the surface, but upon closer examination, you'll find out about what's really happening in your area.
If 50% of all learned human responses learned in the first year of life, then the word should be educare, not child care. And teach our kids to problem solve, teach our kids to communicate, to talk to each other, not like this, not like this, not like this, but to talk and to listen and to hear and to solve problems. You can. It is possible to teach a child to resolve conflicts, to learn how to mediate. Let us get to that so that we get beyond youth violence in forms that we never dreamed would exist. Let us hear their call for help, but let's focus on community. Let's build federal partnerships. I never liked the feds who came to town and said, this is what you must do and this is what we want from you. I like the feds who come to town and say, you understand your needs and resources better than we do. How can we work together as a partner to solve them?
One more quick point about the Wave America program with the BATF. They actually pay children to tattle on their parents. Kind of like the drug war, another perfect case point example of problem reaction solution, creating secret police and highly militarized teams to strike out against the American people on a host of political issues, using the drug war as the crisis. We'll now examine the phony drug war and bring forth some of the real evidence of who's behind the importation of these deadly narcotics. Who is this young man, this new SWAT officer out in Miami? And this gentleman. All part of terror. It's obvious. Why would anyone be wearing a Jason mask? And while they're gearing up to disarm the American people, they're arming themselves to the teeth. I wonder what's going on here, all this paramilitary training. Going back to the 70s, they conditioned us on television with shows like Special Weapons and Tactics. Yes. They're just keeping us safe from that horrible scourge of drugs, narcotics. Funny, the more drug interdiction, the more funding, the more drugs get out on our streets. Since 1993, triple the heroin's been shipped into the U.S. That's the FBI's own numbers. Double the cocaine. Don't worry, we'll just create more armored SWAT teams. They turn the poison of drugs loose on the street, and then the low-level minions have their excuse to violate the 4th and 5th Amendment, posse comitatus, and